This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Safari here in the lowveld of South Africa. I've forgotten what I'm supposed to say now. Oh yes, it's a glorious morning, and we've started Sunday off with the bottom of a zebra. Glorious zebra's bottom for your live safari from the African bush. I do apologise, I forgot entirely that we had an opening title sequence and what I was supposed to say in order to trigger that. Anyway, we've started off the day with some zebras here. A lovely Sunday morning, a bit of a breeze blowing, some smell of smoke in the air because it is of course fire season. No danger, don't worry. My name is James Henry. That is the idiot looking at you in the camera right now. And on camera today we've got Theodore. That is Theodore's very fine thumb. And this is a little herd of zebra. This one, I think we should have started with Theo because it's got the finest bottom. And I always think it's nice to start with the bottom on a Sunday. Please do talk to us using the hashtag WildEarth on the tweet. Alternatively, you can do you can send us questions or comments. I'm really having a fiery day today. You can send us questions or comments on the chat stream on YouTube or Twitch. And if you are a youngster under the age of 18, or somebody who wants to pretend to be under the age of 18, you can send us an email to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. We'd love to have any questions or comments that you might care to offer us today. I'm told that Tswalu in the Kalahari and probably Ngala will not be joining us this morning on account of load shedding. Now, this might be something that is very confusing to some of you who live in other parts of the world. What, you may ask, is load shedding? Load shedding is when the national power utility decides to switch off the power because they can't cope with the demand. This is not on account of deficiencies of engineering, really, mainly on account of theft. Seems to be something we're sorting out in the country, so hopefully they'll be back with us fairly soon. Go ahead. Copy, thanks. Lex, I'll pop down there now. Lex is just up ahead. He's a guide and says that there's a little pearl-spotted owl up ahead, which I think we should probably go and have a look at. No, Spats, we do not get mountain zebras at Djuma. We only get the plains zebra. Mountain zebras are found in Namibia and in the Cape, drier parts of South Africa and Namibia. Now there's a little owl here, which will be quite fun. I like little owls, I do. I do. Can you see it? Yes, that's him. Well spotted. That's a glorious shot of a silhouette of a little owl. Isn't that wonderful? There he goes. Off to catch some poor hapless creature. We'll continue looking at the sunrise as it pops over the eastern horizon. There it comes. Now our plan for the morning is to head to the eastern side of Djuma. We'll then probably have to go down to Chitwa, I think that's where we'll head, and see what we can find on that side of our traversing area. That's gorgeous. And just to keep you posted, it is a weekend, it's a pretty busy weekend in the reserve, so most sightings that we do have, if we are lucky enough to find a leopard or something like that, they'll be relatively short because the vehicles cycling through there are many vehicles cycling through the sightings. So we might not have our sort of usual 2 or 3 hours with one animal. We've been extremely blessed with such sightings over the course of the lockdown period. Not much of a dawn chorus, a couple of hornbills, some francolins, always. Few robins. And some doves.
From the sunrise to the moon, the waning gibbous phase, it's 73% full. Isn't that beautiful? The sun and moon. Just a little piece of cotton candy up in the sky there. And good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren, and I do have BK on camera today, and we are cruising the west. We came into Simbambili hoping to... Sorry about that, everyone. Naughty Game Drive video. Hoping to find either Hukamuri or potentially Kara, but we have stopped to admire some impala. Not only is it nice to admire them, it's also nice to watch them and see if they're alert, if they're a little bit antsy, if they're all looking in one specific direction, and of course it would be great if they started alarm calling. But this herd have disappeared into the thicket and they look very relaxed, as if they're just about to go, well, go further into the thicket and continue looking for breakfast. So off we go. We're in the west today. James got very lucky with Hukamuri yesterday. It was so good to see him. And Kara, who's Shadulu's daughter, is also somewhere in the area. So we're just going to take a nice bumble through Simbambili and see if we can pick up on any sign of our leopards from the west. It's also interesting to know that Kara's quite far on the eastern side of the west, if that makes sense, because I think that's the section that Shadulu has handed over to her, and that means that Shadulu is still pushing far into Juma, although I've not seen her recently. But I think she's very much on Juma now. Hello, Franklin. Lovely crested Franklin. On its own, we've got lots of families around. Lots of chicks. What could possibly be for breakfast inside that dung? Franklins are ground birds. Noisy ones at that. They can also tell you when a predator's nearby if you pay attention, but they can also just be reacting to, well, anything. Make a lot of noise. Oh, it's definitely breakfast time. And they do eat lots of sort of a large variety of food, all herbivorous, but they'll eat corms, bulbs, shoots, fruits, berries. Not so much seeds, but they're looking for anything they can in winter, because it's not easy for any animal. But during the summer, they completely switch their diet and they become quite carnivorous, and they'll eat up all the insects. I'm sure if they came across an insect in winter, they would also eat it up. But sadly, winter doesn't offer too much when it comes to insect life. But summer is approaching fast. I'm actually very excited about it. I miss the constant pulsating and buzzing of summer. Insects everywhere. I think we'll let this Franklin get on with this morning, and we will continue our search. Or we'll try to if I have the car in the right gear. I've been very lucky with leopards lately, so I really hope that we can find some of our leopards from the west. Simbambili is a lovely property. It sits right on top of Arathusa to the west of Juma, and it's very long, but it's very narrow. It's a strange property. It's not a square or a rectangle. It's just very long and narrow, almost like a strip. So it's actually quite easy to navigate. So if there's a leopards around, BK and I are going to find it. Ondeka, can I just check you're still there? Sometimes we lose signal in Simbambili. Yeah, she is still there. Okay, I'm going to continue searching for my spots through the west.
So, welcome to a very windy and beyond Punda Private Game Reserve. My name is Dewald, and behind the camera we have Craig. And we are looking for some cheetah this morning, but we've found some wildebeests out on these open plains. And as you can see, I'm a little bit windswept as well. And the sun has just started rising behind the mountain there as well. And I think these wildebeests are enjoying the nice warm sun in the morning. We were hoping to come onto this big open plain on top of this hill and find some cheetah here, because this is not too far from where they were last seen. It's a cheetah with 2 older cubs, but it seems that they're definitely not here, especially if the wildebeest are around. We actually came around the corner and the wildebeest were all huddled together. They're spreading out a little bit now, and I think they were all trying to get a bit of body warmth and to cover each other a little bit with this wind that's blowing. And we are probably gonna stick around here for a little bit. There was some alarm calls that some of the other rangers let us know about, and not far away from here, so I'm thinking that it might be those cheetahs that we're looking for. You can see these wildebeest are all feeding on the shorter parts of the grass now, and there's actually quite a few youngsters in this herd. Like, we had a nice big herd around the floodplain yesterday as well. It seems like this one is also just settling down now for the morning. Hopefully, if the cheetahs do come in this direction, they'll alarm call, and they'll let us know if they do come into this area. Oh, the sun is not even warming us up. This wind is absolutely chilly. See how they're slowly feeding to the right hand side. There is a small watering hole not far from here to the right, and I wonder if they're slowly going to be heading in that direction, just because it is difficult for them to go and drink, and quite risky for them to go and drink at night. So they'll probably head there this morning, just because there's always that possibility of predators being on the move at night. So they'll probably go drink this morning. Butterfly, they indeed do look pretty happy. I think if I was an antelope or a wildebeest, I would have been pretty happy to survive the night as well out in the African bush. And I think they are all pretty happy that the sun has come up, and hopefully it warms up. We are set to have actually a pretty warm day, even though it's very windy. So yeah, on the east coast of South Africa, it's hopefully going to be nice and warm. There's actually one that's now kind of leading the herd, and it's walking further and further away from us. I wonder if it's making a beeline for the water that's there in the distance. It seems like there's 1 or 2 of them that's slowly starting to follow. Very interesting to see the bear. Oh, they just had a little bit of a startle. You can imagine with this wind, it must hinder their senses a little bit, sense of hearing and smell. So any fright that one of them has affects all of them, and they all jump a little bit. See how they're all starting to walk in one line there now. Still feeding a little bit, but all sticking together all the time, especially in the windy conditions. So huddling together like this, safety in numbers, not wanting to go too far away from the rest of the herd. There's one just looking straight at us. It actually looks like it might be a bull then in the front that's leading the herd. Let's quickly have a look through some binoculars. He's just about to cross the road there. Oh. Might actually just be a female, to be honest. I don't know, I don't see a big dominant bull. I can imagine close to this watering hole there might be it actually is a bull. So he was like scratching, and now he's actually defecating on that little patch there. So that is a little midden that he has, where he'll be scent marking in his little territory. So the wildebeest here don't necessarily migrate like they do in East Africa at the moment, but because the grazing is fairly green all year round, they actually stick around and form nice territories and keep their territories. And this bull, there you can see that it's a bull now, just those horns sticking out on the even past his ears. So this bull has an ideal little patch of territory here, open grassland with a few watering holes actually not far away. So you can imagine this herd of wildebeest probably doesn't move too far away from his little patch. You can see he's actually standing quite a bit higher than the rest now that he is with them, especially if you look at his shoulder height there. All very interested in us, because now they've moved around us and the wind is blowing our scent directly onto them. Interesting how their behavior changed. They were feeding all with their heads down, and all of a sudden, when they got to the right side, they're all just looking at us and smelling us, obviously. A lot of grooming happening. I think there might be quite a bit of flies, and so flying in between them, trying to get out of this wind and biting them, and so. It's quite a big female that's standing in the road as well. See all of them just looking towards us. The iconic wildebeest, the blue wildebeest horns. Very similar to the buffalo that we saw yesterday as well. Quite a bit of nudging and so on happening. I think they're all quite keen to head towards the water, but it will only take one of them to start walking and then they'll all follow. They don't want to move away from the herd. But you can see it looks like the bull. Yeah, it looks like the bull standing on the right hand side there. He's now starting to walk. Let's see if the rest follows him, if he keeps on walking. He's now walking through the middle there. Alarma, it is such a beautiful area and that background is so beautiful. You can see there is like a little bit of like a reddish coloration on the horizon there, and that's just from the sun rising. And the beautiful mountains and hills in the background is actually part of the Lobombo Mountains that kind of ends here in this area of South Africa, and they stretch all the way from the Kruger National Park and the Sabi Sands area all the way to here. And this is like the little pinky finger that you can see there in the background. Very, very cool. They are so relaxed. It's nice and flat and open. So Lulu fam, that's a very good question. You're asking if they display displacement behavior. Oh, did you see that one just kicking a little bit there? So they're obviously smelling something, or they caught the wind of something, and they're all on the move now. Sorry, just to get back to your question, they actually do, in some sense. They're on the move again. We are going to lose view of them, and they are out of here. Interesting how I think they probably just got a whiff, or one of them decided that they are heading out, so they're now going down towards the watering hole. Alright, we're gonna actually keep on going, and Craig and I are gonna head towards hopefully some cheetah. It sounds like the other rangers on the tracking vehicle found something. We'll head in that direction.
Must be nice, yes. A tracking team on Pinda, I'm sure they'll find something lovely. I imagine Pinda today will be very beautiful, probably quite still, and the light casting hundreds of different shades of green and brown on that very varied, wonderful landscape. We are now on the eastern boundary of Chuma, and we are just going to do a little patrol here before we head down towards Chitwa, which is the reserve south of Chuma. And we just want to see if Thandi the leopardess and her bebe cub have perhaps come this way.
Good morning. Look who we found. It's our favorite group of 5 lionesses, and they are currently sitting basically in the middle of a herd of elephants as well, which is pretty odd. That's quite amazing. Can't believe our luck this morning. Hi, my name is Mike. Behind the camera we've got Gert, and you're joining us here at Ecotraining's Pridelands Conservancy. And as you see, we are so lucky this morning. It's nice and cool, chilly but bright. And it's going to be an interesting morning with these lions and see what they get up to this morning. It's quite strange. They're on the move somewhere, and they've found themselves in the middle of a herd of elephants. They're looking around. They've all settled for the moment, but they were on the move quite steadily a moment ago. So let's just see what happens. One elephant's off to our right, to the right of these lions, and then there's more elephants to the left of them. And they seem to be drifting across, so we'll see what these lionesses do. I'm not able to see their bellies. I'm just too busy trying to move through these thickets to get a good view of them, but I'm not sure if they've eaten. But they certainly haven't moved far from where we saw them yesterday. There's the elephants. You can just see them moving through the scrub. Very shortly, I'm sure those elephants will smell these lions, and things could get interesting because there are lots of young elephants as well. And these female elephants will... Oh, I think they smell them already. These elephants will not stand for these lions to be around. A few of the elephants are starting to look a bit nervous, lifting their trunks up, having a bit of a smell. Oh, one lioness is up. She knows how dangerous it could be to be caught in the middle of a herd of elephants, especially if they've got young ones. I won't try and move just yet. There's a few more lionesses just lying in the grass around here, and it's quite thick. I don't want to do too much disturbance, especially with these elephants looking around. Oh, here, one elephant is... Yeah, the elephants, they're chasing the lions. Oh, there goes lions to the right here, running straight to another elephant. That was amazing. I told you, those elephants will not stand for these lions to be anywhere near their babies. So they immediately all rushed forward, making an impenetrable wall of power that just chased these lionesses off. And now the lionesses are just stopped, all looking at the elephants. The job is done. The elephants have chased off the lions. 4 of them are here. 1 is still off to our left. And they need to do no more than that. There's no need to waste energy. They've proven their strength. The lions know they've been beaten, and they've moved off. But this interesting. There's one lioness still staring at the elephants. These 4 here on our right, they've all settled down on the road. They look like they're just content to sit out in the open. I mean, it's been a cold night, I'm sure. Quite still and bright, but cold. And so these lions are probably wanting to just sit somewhere and get warm. How many lions do you see there, Gert? Is that 3 or 4 lions over there? There's 3 there. Okay, there's the 4th one just to the left, and then the 5th one to our left. Okay. I wondered if maybe there might have been a 6th lioness that's randomly joined. But I don't think so. See the elephants just moving through here now. Everything seems to be calming down. Tailor-made, I think it would be very unusual for lions in this area to hunt an elephant, because the elephants, there are 6 lions here, unless this one's just come over, because there's 2 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, there's 6 lions here. There's 2 over there now. Oh, this is nice and playful. Maybe one of them has joined back. You see this behavior that we're seeing now? I'll answer you in a moment, Tailor-made. This is the kind of behavior that lions display when they haven't seen each other for a while. Do you see this? This playful tussling and head rubbing. So yes, it would be unusual for lions to hunt elephants in this area because there's plenty of other game. But in areas like Botswana, when droughts hit and all the game, the small animals, antelope, move out of the area, the lions are territorial, they can't move too far. We have noticed that large prides do tend to go for young elephants because that's all there is around. But it's quite unusual, TaylorMade. I don't think that these lions are interested in these elephants anything more than curiosity. But they must be careful, because curiosity did kill the cat, so the saying goes. Look at this beautiful lioness. Gorgeous. This is literally the best way my morning could have started. Lions in the morning light, elephant interaction, and a new member of a pride, one that we haven't seen before. Although I don't know these lions super well, it's even quite difficult for me to identify Lagatha if she's in this group. I think it might have been the one that just passed us. Koala Bear, you are having exactly the same thoughts as I. I do believe that she is. She was with the 5 lionesses 2 days ago when we last saw them, and now there are 6 here, so I can imagine that she's here plus another female has joined them. And yeah, it's just a bit tricky for me to identify. See, this lioness walking past here is a bit larger than the one that just passed us, but it's very difficult to tell. All of these lions have quite a spotted undercoat, which is quite interesting. We've only seen Lagatha on a few occasions where we could actually study her nicely. Quite often it's late in the morning, or late in the evening, or just glimpses of her in the morning moving through. She hasn't been relaxed with the vehicle until very recently, so I unfortunately haven't even managed to take any photographs of her yet. Not good ones anyway. All the lionesses are up now, moving back towards where they originally were. This is a powerful crew. Hey, just look at that sleek movement. They haven't eaten, their bellies are not full, but they are probably going to try and hunt today, this morning, or maybe even during the day if it stays nice and cool. Can hear alarm calls in the distance behind these lions. Maybe there are others in the area. God, that's beautiful. Look at that. I don't know if you can hear that in the mic. The impala's alarm calling behind us. Well, we are not going to go anywhere. We're going to stay with these lions for the rest of the morning and see what they get up to.
There's a leopard here hunting an impala. I can't tell who it is at this stage. The impala are about 50 meters ahead. Like I say, I don't know how long we're going to be able to stay here. And I'm guessing that that's Tlalamba. She's sneaking very slowly through the grass. Unfortunately, the impala are moving away from her. But they're grazing. They're totally unaware of her. I actually can't see her. Only Theo can see her. So we're not going to move the car, even though I know the view is not fantastic. Impala are in some pretty thick bush, pretty relaxed. She's unfortunately now got a sort of clearing between her and them. That's why she stopped moving. This wind is going to make it much easier for her. So all we've got there are a few spots, but that's okay. Because we have a possible hunt in the offing. What we don't want to do is ruin the hunt. Robert Libs hunt all sorts of things. They have a very Catholic diet. So it's difficult to say what they hunt most, but it's probably Duiker, Steenbok, Impala. That's probably the bulk of their food. But they eat a lot of scrub hares that we don't know about because it happens quickly, and possibly even squirrels.
Oh my goodness, we've just come across this cheetah and the two youngsters, and they're actually on the move now, just walking through the long grass. But just before he came to us, there's a herd of buffalo behind us, and they actually chased them off. And looking at the size of these cubs, these are the same cheetahs that was harassed by the two males the other day. So good to see that they are doing well, and they are super far away from where those two males harassed them. So good to know that they are doing okay. And yesterday they were even on an Inyala carcass. So nice to see them. See how she's just standing and checking around her all the time. She's super nervous with these buffaloes that have just chased them off. I think I'm going to try and follow them. They are walking through quite some long grass, so you might only see the youngsters every now and then scurry behind mom. I'm going to go into four-wheel drive, so everyone just hold on for any bumps or watch out for any branches on the sides. So let this wind blowing, we don't want any...
Oh, sorry about that. You are now with us at Simbambili Dam admiring a bird. Now, I can't actually see what bird we have here, everyone. I might need your help. Definitely a raptor. Look at that beak. Fluffy. The feathers do not appear to go all the way down the legs, which suggests that it's not a true eagle. But due to the intense sunlight, I don't know if I can identify it from here. What do you think if we go down here, BK? Will it make a different angle? Okay, we're going to try and give you a different angle because I really don't know. We have that wonderful sunlight, just beautiful and deliciously warm, but rather blinding. So let me just... Okay, please don't fly away. We want to identify you. There we go, BK, do your thing. I think it's a juvenile, looking at the coloration and the messy feathers. I can't see the color of its eye. Maybe Londeka can help me. But I think it's black. Yes, those eyes look black to me. Oh, I think it's a juvenile battalier. There we go. It's a very young battalier, I think. You can just see at the bottom of the wing, birds have different feathers for different purposes. Not all the feathers serve the same purpose, and they're not all the same. They're structured differently, although in saying that, feathers are all built from the same material. Lots and lots of keratin in there, and the way that they're layered allows for different specializations. Can also allow for different reflections of light, so you will see different colors. And just looking at the bottom of this wing, the sort of flight feathers, if you like, there's a band, a sort of lighter band. I think we have a juvenile batelier here. How lovely. It's younger than the one that we normally see on Juma. And of course, feathers are what make birds unique. Birds are birds because they have feathers. And what I mean by different functions is basically you'll have contour feathers. And these are also known as tectrices. And they contour the bird's body. So it gives them a completely streamlined shape to allow them to excel during flight. And then you'll have the retrices, not the tectrices, the retrices, and they're the tail feathers. So if you think of the tail feathers of a woodpecker, which uses the tail as almost like a third leg to stabilize itself when clinging onto the wood, to the likes of the tail feathers in a gymnogene, who does the same thing. But then compare it to this bird. This bird doesn't use its tail to balance. This juvenile butterfly, it's not a butterfly, is it? Is it a butterfly, BK?
No.
Yes, juvenile butterfly, juvenile batelier. And then you have the down feathers. The down feathers are what some pillows are stuffed with. Very small, lightweight, and very fluffy. And these are used for sort of insulation. There's normally a lot of down feathers surrounding the chest area and the neck area. Now, the remiges are the sturdy feathers, and they are the ones that you can also call flight feathers. They are the ones that are arranged on the wing to help the bird fly. Ah, what a lovely sighting. I'm going to continue exploring the west and hopefully find some spots of my own.
This cat is now slowly sneaking into the fringing woodland. She's closed the distance to about 50 meters or so. I know it's not a great view. But we can't afford to move now. As if we move, we'll disturb the impala. Now the impala are actually moving towards her. Let's watch her carefully. There's a huge amount of luck involved in a hunt like this for the leopard. You still see her, Lithia? Because there are hundreds of variables at play. And the most unpredictable ones are the behavior, or the behavioral ones to do with their prey. So those impala could decide to come this way, they could decide to turn around and go somewhere else. They could decide to do a merry dance right where they are. They could just shift slightly into a clearing and then become invisible. Oof, there's one moving quite close now. And they're moving straight past the front of her, right past where she's in cover. So I can just see two spots, same as you. Oh, she's moving now. Okay, I can still see her. We just can't move right now. We're just gonna have to be patient. Yeah, I can just see two spots. They're in the same place there. She's just gone kind of to ground, and the impala are now moving quite fast off towards the right. If she's going to strike, it's going to happen now. But I think the moment has passed. Yeah, she's exactly? Oh, you've got the impala. All right, stay on her then. Stay on the impala. That impala might be about to breathe its last. Hey, this is very frustrating, I know everyone, but I'm afraid there's naught we can do. I know this is very frustrating. You still see it? Yeah, the guys next to me say she's just lying down there. Yeah, we're going to go a little bit forward, everybody. And like I say, I don't think we're going to be here for long because there are other people coming in. Just down in here. Impala's still... No, they've seen her. I think. Can you see her? Oh, there she runs. She's taken off at 100 miles an hour. I wonder if she's hit. Just make sure she hasn't actually whacked one. So she's ran off down here. Sort of cheetah style. But I don't know if she did that because she was seen or because there was some straggler that hadn't picked up where she was. There's another impala there, I think. So there are 3 or 4 of them shouting that side. Impala, I mean. I don't think she's got one, but let's just have a quick look-see. They're all looking, but I don't think anyone can see her. It was very unusual. She got up and she sort of started herring off in this direction. Just like a sort of cheetah. But now no one can see her. Ah, so Aubrey reckons she went down through here into this gully. unfortunately she's lost. So we'll give it another try and see if we can find her.
Okay, so we've lost visual of the cheetahs for now, but there is 2 other vehicles in the area also trying to film a documentary for cheetahs. So like we're gonna be looking for them with us, but we've got these beautiful open rolling hills. It's just the grass is quite long, and this female cheetah, she's been on the move for quite a while now, and I think we're going to be driving around in this open grassland hoping to find them again. But hopefully she gets to like a termite mound or something like that, and she will be settling down for quite a bit, because this wind is so hectic today that she's going to be trying to find a spot where she can actually scan around and use something like a vantage point or so. But we are just waiting. There's quite a few thicker areas straight ahead of us. You can see there's quite a few trees, little bushes and so on, and we think that she's maybe slowly coming through those areas now. So hopefully they pop out sooner than later. There's another watering hole not far to the left hand side of us, so I wonder if she's maybe heading in that direction, potentially looking to hunt or something like that. You can imagine with these 2 young cubs, she must have, she have to find something to eat sooner than later. It sounds like the carcass that they were on last night was indeed not an nyala, but it was actually something smaller, like a dike or so maybe not too much meat for them. And when we saw them earlier, they didn't really have too fat bellies. Their bellies looked fairly skinny. So I think we're going to just wait for a moment. Every now and then we can hear something, but like this, with this wind, it's very difficult to hear any calls or so. Miss KJ, you're asking if cheetahs are more sensitive to cold weather. I'm assuming that's compared to other cats. I don't think so. They do have nice thick fur as well and so on. And cheetahs actually occur in places like the Namibian, like semi-arid deserts, even in the Kalahari, like Tswalu and so on. And there in the winter, in the mornings, it can go well below freezing. So they actually are pretty well adapted to being in the colder temperatures as well. Obviously not in snow or so, but they can definitely survive it. And they a lot more adapted to being in the warmer climates, because you can imagine in the deserts it can even reach temperatures even in the mornings of below 0, but in the afternoons can go as high as 50 degrees Celsius. But for now, I think we're going to hang around here and hopefully those cheetahs pop out.
We've came across some zebra. Well, zebra bottom at least. Oh, no. There we have it. But looking at that bottom, in all fairness, you see the shadow stripe. So there's the black and white stripes, but in between there's almost like a shadow stripe. Almost looks like an optical illusion. That is your sign that it's a plain zebra. And you can see that they're grazing here. Bulk feeders, one of the most gassy animals that we get out here due to their nature of their digestion. That's why they always look so bulbous and round. There's a lot of food in that tummy, but there's also a lot of gas. You can see they're huddled together next to the impala. I'm not sure if we can see the impala from here. But the zebra will benefit greatly from this association with the impala, because impala are so vocal. in their approach to predators. They're one of the most vocal antelope. And you can hear that sort of alarm call, bah, 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 from miles away. So this benefits the zebra as well, although a lone leopard would probably not go for an adult zebra. That would be slightly out with its reach. Lions definitely would. And leopards would go for a foal if given the opportunity. I don't see any foals around, but foal zebras are very impressive, remarkably precocial. Robert, it's not an easy task, to be perfectly honest with you, when it comes to male and female zebras. But the best thing to do is look for the male genitals. Just look straight away, see if you see any signs of a male. But if that's not possible, what you can do, I'm going to show you an image in a book, just bear with me. Just going to find my porky pointer. Here we go, I've got it ready. And this sort of just displays it very, very well for you. So if we just look here, BK, underneath the tail, this is how you tell them apart. So this is a male. There's a very narrow black stripe here. It runs vertically between the legs, but it's very, very narrow. Now, if you compare this to the female, you can see it's a much wider black strip. That's one way of identifying it. But be perfectly honest, if we just go back to the male, there's your genitals. I mean, that's what you're really, really looking for when you're trying to tell the difference. But if you can't see the genitals because of the angle, oops, sorry about that, it's very windy, or the sun, then this is the stripe that you're looking for. But it's not easy. They're roughly the same size. But normally you will have one dominant stallion and his harem of females. And the stallions can be so aggressive with one another, really, really aggressive. A zebra fight between two males is actually one of the worst sightings I've had out here. And I was training with Brent Leo Smith. It was just, it was awful. It was really, really upsetting. They can be very aggressive, and of course, they're competing for females. The bigger your harem, the more females that are yours, you can then mate. You have more mating opportunities and more chances of, well, having offspring that are your own. Oh, it's very windy here today. But other sort of males, maybe not so dominant, can come in and swoop in and pick up your females. And that's why the stallion really has to be very aware and very cautious when it comes to males around. And that's why they are so aggressive. But within the females, believe it or not, there's actually a hierarchy in the harem. So it's linked to age, but it's also sort of on an arrangement how to put this. First wife, then second wife, then third wife, then fourth wife. So the first female that's with the stallion will be number one. And normally they're abducted. That's the actual word they use in the zebra kingdom. Abduction. Fillies are abducted. And just like lions, they actually allo-groom. They're very tender with one another. It's just males that are not. Okay, I think we may let these zebras continue grazing. And we're going to reverse a little and look at some tracks that I just spotted on the ground. I just want to check this road. I think I spotted a track before I spotted the stripes of the zebra. We're on the fire break of Simbambili, and it's actually a fantastic place to catch predators. Let's hope I can find this. You can actually see these zebra tracks. I'm going to show you the zebra tracks. They're very sweet. They're all up and down the road, different sizes. They must have a foal with them. This is actually a good one. Hold on, BK. You see directly here. I'm sure BK will manage to get in. I don't have to jump out and block the view. Yeah, this one. Lots of zebra tracks. Their hooves up and down the fire break. Oh, it's not a leopard track. I think that's a little civet track next to it. Civets must walk great distances during the night. Every single road I take, there's a civet track. Okay, I'm going to keep reversing. Let's see if I can find that one track I'm looking for. I should probably do a U-turn. But I'm going to stick with reversing for now. Okay, wish me luck, everyone. Hopefully we can relocate this track and get on the tail of a leopard.
What we have got here is a rather nice sighting of some giraffes. And although you're looking at 5 of them, there are in fact another 1, 2, 3, 4 or so around the place. A marvellous journey of giraffes here. That leopard disappeared, I'm afraid, everyone. We tried to find her again, and Aubrey reckons that she's actually quite skittish, and that would make sense given what we saw, unless it was Tlalamba, in which case she may have just been invisible. I'm going to sneak forward here because these young bulls are necking, which is often quite fun to watch. We just don't want to give them a fright. You can hear the whizzing calls of the oxpeckers. That's quite cool. Okay, Theo? Yep. Bit of a typical August breeze blowing in. I don't think this is a serious fight. I think it's more sort of, what should we say, Sunday wrestle. It could turn serious. Well, There we go, a bit of head butting on the bum. Bum butting. It's quite amusing, I suppose, if you're not involved in it. You know, these guys are limbering up. They're not very old. I mean, they're mature. Well, that was a severe one. A severe butt to the butt. Ha ha ha. See what I did there? Quite some thundering sounds. You. Now there's a few leg butts. Now this is getting serious now. I would imagine the chances of a concussion are fairly high. And it's why their skulls ossify. Yes, safari lover, they will have bursts of testosterone that make them want to fight. Testosterone isn't necessarily a hormone of violence. It's a hormone of status and a hormone of dominance. So if you can get status and dominance by being meek and mild, testosterone will increase those particular characteristics. In this particular case, though, I think what you'll find is that the presence of an estrus female has probably increased the testosterone drive in these bulls, and that's what's making them fight. Alternatively, you know, they're not fully adult yet, looking at them carefully. So what you might find is that this is a kind of playground boxing match where now there are three of them involved. So it's more likely that this is an adolescent burst of testosterone that's going on. This is like, yeah, it's probably like young adolescent men having a go at each other on a football field or in the gym or wherever it is that young men box these days. As far as I'm aware, Carla, I've never seen females engage in necking. I suppose if they became particularly irritated with each other, they might. But I've never seen it. Yeah, so although that got relatively serious and may still get even more serious, it's not something that is a fight to the death. There's one cow close by. She's moving off now, as is the classic case with human fights of the same nature, where the female being fought over will normally depart either in disgust or boredom.
We've at last caught up with this female and her youngsters, and we spotted them on a termite mound. And you can see this youngster being very, very cute and actually lying on top of mom and getting a bit of body heat. Oh, nice, like snuggling in there between his sibling and mom. And see where the spot that she is on now. She can actually see quite a bit around her. These youngsters are a little bit cold. You can see how they are trying to make themselves as small as possible behind mom there. And the wind is blowing that fluffy hair on their backs. Oh, just a perfect moment. I think she's happy to settle down here, just because it is such a nice spot for her to be able to scan around. A bit of yawning and grooming actually happening from her side. So what I've seen in the past and with a lot of other big cats is when they start to groom like this or yawn like this, they're often getting ready to get a move on. Let's see what happens. So she's still grooming there. Let's see if there's a few more yawns happening, and she might get up, maybe stretch a little bit, or actually decide to get a move on. Let's see. I think from all this running through the grass and so, she's maybe got a bit of dirt and so, and maybe some thorns or something that nicked her legs, and that's what she's grooming away there at. Yeah. It was just aiming there to get up. Licking her lips off. And we've got this beautiful morning light on them as well. You can just hear Marcel has actually joined us on the drive this morning as well, and he's just snapping away the whole morning, taking some nice photos. See how she's stretching there? Not too keen to move away from that spot there. Yeah, just repositioning a bit. See how she wrapped her tail around her bum there as well. Benji, that is a good question. You're asking if any big cats bury their scat like house cats do. With cheetah in particular, I think it's been observed maybe once or twice that females maybe bury their scat or so, but they actually use their scat to mark their territories. So they won't really bury it that much. In Africa, I know that leopards and lions also mark their territory sometimes and leave their scat wherever they are. They don't really care too much about it. I think there's maybe one or two smaller cat species that might bury their scat. Very, very interesting. Something I would actually love to read a little bit more about. Look at that youngster on the right hand side. You can see how the wind is just blowing straight onto that fluff on his back, on the back of his neck. And you can imagine how these two youngsters are so well camouflaged. If they should be in this long grass with that fluffy fur on their backs, they'll be so well camouflaged. And it's believed that is what that fluff is for when they're so young, and then they'll obviously use it to look like mom later on. But so that when mom goes out to hunt, she'll leave them somewhere in the grass and they'll be well camouflaged. or better camouflaged at least. See how she's looking around her all the time. She's actually staring far in the distance. I saw a herd of zebras far, far away, and she's keeping a lookout at whatever is in the distance. And on this big open plain, she'll hopefully be able to spot a potential next meal or danger very, very quickly. I think she's turned towards the sun and lying the way that she is, just because it's nice and warm in this cold wind that's blowing at the moment. We'll see. I think that youngster on the right hand side there might get up and later on and maybe snuggle up against mom again. It's maybe just the hill of the slope of the termite mound that's a little bit difficult to lie on. Caitlin, you're asking where the father is of these two youngsters. So the fathers of these two are believed to be the two, what we know as the two south dominant male cheetahs of Phinda, and they actually have a territory that stretches over 20,000 hectares, which is more than half of the conservation area. So they are walking around and scent marking and making sure that no other males come into their territory, and they don't have anything to do with the cubs once they are born. So they don't look after the cubs like your dad would, or like any other dads would. They just keep on going and try and look after their territory. So only this mother cheetah is looking after these youngsters for now. See how she just turned into the wind there, and the wind was blowing straight into her eyes. Just see her like closing her eyes a little bit. Oh, she's so regal sitting on the termite mound. The youngster behind mom, just the way that it's holding its head, it looks like it's trying to stay out of this wind as much as possible. There's a couple of other vehicles coming to join us in the sighting here, and you can see these youngsters are still very interested in what the sounds of the wheels are making on the grass and so on, but they are quickly getting used to being viewed. Deadman J, you are asking how old these youngsters are. So they are just about 4, maybe I think 5 or so months old. It's difficult to say exactly when they were born. We usually start viewing them only when we estimate them to be about 3 months old. So I reckon they're probably around 5 months, if not a little bit younger than that. Just by looking at the size of them and the amount of fluff that's behind their heads there. Fluffy cheetah cubs. So if you were with us a couple of days ago, so we've successfully identified them, just because the one youngster actually has a nick on his face. I wonder if it's the one on the right hand side there. And this is definitely the female cheetah that was harassed by the two males. And we were talking about it earlier. It is so far away from where they were. There she's getting up, stretching a bit. See how she like pulled her head back. Sorry. She was so far away from where those two males interacted with her. And it's around about 20 kilometers as the crow flies, where she walked from. And there's at least one pride of lions that we know that's in between there and here. So for her to be able to get past them and in the meantime have two carcasses, 2 kills, is just incredible. So she's a great mother. So she's actually sitting up now, because I think she's starting to, like, every now and then she'll just sit up like this and just scan around, try and raise herself a little bit higher and make sure that there's no danger in the area. Look at that youngster, tail snugged up against his body. See why we went to go and lie right between his sibling and his mom, trying to get out of the wind. Oh, there we go. Look how he's actually putting his head on mom's back there. And that's actually the youngster that we identified. So he's got that nick on his nose there. And that told us that this is that cheetah that got harassed by the two males. Oh, there you can see that little nick just on our right hand side, on the young cheetah's left hand side, just next to that tear mark that goes down his face. I think he's got the best spot now, right between his sibling and mom. For now, Craig and I are going to stick around here and keep an eye on these cheetahs, and hopefully this wind dies down a little bit and warms us up a bit.
I'm afraid I don't think that wind is going to die down. I think that is a general system flowing through the country right now. So we found some more giraffes. This is a different group, not the same one that we had earlier. And they are, quite interestingly, eating from a bush with seemingly only dead leaves on it. But if I look closely, I see that they are selecting the green leaves and not the crunchy brown ones. I thought maybe they'd be eating the crunchy brown ones in the same way that you and I might eat vegetable chips, you know? Hello Lula, I'll get back to you right now. Just got to quickly get on the radio. That leopard was Kalamba. It was confirmed by our viewers. Lula, the giraffe is, sorry, one more. It was Kalamba. Identified by the viewers, they got a good look at it. They've got blue tongues because we don't know this for sure, but we think because they stick their tongues out so much, they might get sunburnt if they were pink like ours. So they've got a lot of melanin in the tongue, which, although it looks blue, it's actually sort of blackish blue mixed with, so it's a kind of dark black mixed with pink, which makes that sort of bluish purplish colour. I personally don't know that I believe that story, and so I'm going to say to you, Lula, that I don't think anyone really knows for sure why giraffes have blue tongues. It's not that unusual though in the animal kingdom. An impala has a blue tongue, bluish, blackish tongue. So does a kudu. Most of the antelope, in fact probably all of them. It's just that the giraffes is much longer and they use it much more when they're feeding, and so it's much more obvious that they've got a blue tongue. I really struggle to believe, however, that their tongues would get sunburned if they weren't blue. That maybe they would. So Lula, not every single adaptation or feature of an animal has a good survival reason behind it. And often what we do is we look for a good survival reason behind why an animal has a particular feature, and then we make up a story that kind of fits what we think. but it's not necessarily a true story. And I think that story of the giraffe and the sunburn is possibly one of those. And to those of you who are a little bit more au fait with evolutionary biology, it's what you might describe as a spandrel. And I've tried to explain this before, probably fairly badly, but a spandrel is the bit of a building between two archways. So it has a name, it's called a spandrel. And in fact, nobody's in a burning rush, I should probably draw this for you. Basically, the spandrel has no function in the archway other than for the fact that it's between the two archways. So if you've got an archway like that and an archway like that, the piece in the middle is called a spandrel. And it has no real function, it's just what we call the piece between two archways, right? And so we refer to things like, perhaps that blue tongue, I'm not saying this is true, but I think it probably is, as a spandrel, in so much as it's evolved to be that way because of all sorts of other factors that have no naturally selective function necessarily. So they just have blue tongues. Make sense? Possibly not. Possibly. And I think that's what we're looking at there.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
We were just having the most precious moments with the southern white-crowned shrike. But sadly, birds being birds. I think it is gone. Excuse our aerial there. Can you see it, Beaks? Is it completely... Yes, it is gone, I'm afraid. Birds don't wait around for too long. It's hungry. It looked like it was getting ready to swoop down and pick up breakfast at any moment. So no luck. Apparently Hukamuri was headed Juma way. So I didn't find any sign of him in Simbambili. So we're just going to scoot around here, see if we can find any tracks of our gangster.
We've looped around to the other side and see if we can get a view of these youngsters a little bit better. And it gives you an idea of how they are snuggling up to mom there. See that one there in the middle is got a nice comfy spot there. They're actually all falling asleep, I think. Looking at the way that mom is lying down now, you can see her eyes also closing. So the fact that she's lying on her side with her legs stretched out like that, I think she's settling down and she's pretty happy with the spot that she's in. She feels pretty confident that she'll be safe, and her cubs will be safe here as well. Oh, shame. That cub there on the left hand side, just the way that it's like falling asleep there, it looks so cold. I'm sure you can hear the wind blowing as well. It is not pleasant. It is actually a pretty chilly wind as well. Oh, the one in the middle just bobbed his head down, falling asleep there between mom and its sibling. You can see, even though she's lying down and falling asleep, her head is up so that she can look around her at any moment without really putting her head down, and she can know what's going on around her. And you'll see her ears flicking every now and then, so even though we know that though the wind is blowing quite a bit, she is still listening to what's going on around her. She has to be very wary of everything around her, especially with this wind. Pastor Kathy, you're asking where mother cheetahs go to give birth. So on Phinda, I think it's different in different areas depending on what the lie of the land is, the topography, the vegetation or so. But on Phinda itself, because we've got a lot of dry riverbeds or drainage lines in between, like the hillsides and so on, that's got a bit more denser areas. What we've seen is, or what we know is that the cheetahs have been using those areas to give birth and also to hide their youngsters away until they are strong enough to follow their mothers. So these two, they've only started following their mom around about 2 months ago or so, maybe 3 months ago. But so for the first 3 months, for about the first 3 months, they would have been hidden away and just been staying in the thicker areas and only suckling on mom's milk. See how mom's falling asleep there? Actually almost putting her chin on her shoulder there. Yeah, these youngsters are super, super cute.
We have now, and they seem to be heading down towards the water at Tswalu, which is a big water hole. I'm just going to quickly talk to Lauren on the radio. Lost my radio. Go ahead. Oof, that's a big cow, eh? A very big, very old cow. Lots of stories she's got to tell. Lauren, go ahead, go ahead. I'm at Tswalu now. Affirmative. Oh, that's nice. So I'd probably say she was about 55 or so. You can hear a rattling testicular shouting. Now those big long tusks of hers, I think, probably make it quite difficult to eat in some respects. I often think that the sort of short stubby ones are the best ones for breaking off branches and digging a little bit in the bark of some trees. Once they get to that sort of length, I think they become relatively brittle, and you can see they're not very thick, and also quite difficult to manage. I mean, to aim at a tree and accurately scrape a piece of bark off, I think must be quite difficult. You can feel this wind blowing. Well, you probably can't feel it, but you can certainly hear it. It's a northwester. A strangely cool wind. They're all sampling various different plants. Nobody seems to be selecting for anything too specific. And you can probably also hear the lilac-breasted rollers in the background. There, she's using them now. Shamsun, you say these tusks are impressive. They certainly are. And she's just used them to break off a piece of that green thorn tree. The number of plants that she must have eaten over her 55 years or so is just astonishing to me. The distance she's covered. I'd just love to know the pattern in her brain for where she leads the herd, why she leads them where she does, if she has favourite places that she likes to visit at certain times of the year, and why she likes to visit those places. Is there any aesthetic in it, or was it simply a drive for food and water? I think we're a long way off understanding that much, though. Please remember you can send through your questions or comments to #WildEarth on Twitter. Alternatively, of course, the chat stream on YouTube or Twitch. And if you are a youngster, kids questions at wildearth.tv. Right, now let's see if her movement results in the rest of the herd starting to leave as well. Seems to be, sort of. Let's move slightly, Theo, I think. Pretty sure they're going to fetch up at the water eventually. There's a tiny little one in here.
You've come back just as this female started grooming herself a bit. See how she's trying to get to the fur right below her chin there. And these youngsters have not moved at all. They are literally just falling asleep exactly the same way they were earlier. But Mama, there's like these gusts of wind, and every now and then she just turns her head and looks around. There you can see she's just looking this direction, scanning a bit. Oh, stretching. Yeah, usually I don't think she's actually settling down, like putting her head down completely. But we'll see. Let's keep an eye on her. She might pick up her head every now and then and just have a look around her as well. Look at that one youngster in the middle there, actually turning onto the back of his head. I wonder if he's maybe scratching his ear a little bit as well. Oh, I think she's very happy with the spot, especially because it's nice and open around her. The fact that she's settling down like this and actually lying down flat tells me that she's not too worried. But see, that's how she just flicked up her head all of a sudden. And just having a look around her. It must be tough being a cheetah, having to worry about lions and leopards and hyenas, especially with two youngsters like this. Are you asking if the size of a cheetah's territory ever changes? I think it definitely will if there's other cheetahs that come into the area. The density of cheetahs in the area is high, then their territories might be smaller, but it also has to do with the topography and the lie of the land and vegetation and so on. They would preferably have territories that have good hunting areas in it and so on and so on. Pinda, the territories are quite big for male cheetahs. Females, however, they don't have territories. They're not territorial, they have home ranges. So that means that this female will probably share a home range with multiple other females, and probably the fact that she's in this area tells us that there's actually male cheetahs that territories overlap with her home range. So a home range is something that they would not actively protect against other cheetahs, but they just stay within the certain area. So in certain areas the territories can become a little bit smaller for males if there's other males in the area also, but it doesn't really change that often. They'll try and hold on to the territory that they set up for themselves from the start. This female cheetah, actually where she is right now, now that we are talking about her home range, is right in the middle. So the two males that harassed her, they actually come into this area as well. This is kind of on their eastern edge of their territory, and the two south males that are the fathers, or what we think are the fathers of these cubs, their territory, this is like their western boundary of their territory. So this is right in the middle of where both of those coalitions will come into. So I think she's very happy with this area. I mean, having these two youngsters survive for so long already and having these open plains, she's got a perfect home range here for herself. Just by looking at the back of her neck there, I can, just having a look through the binoculars as well, it doesn't seem like she's got any more of that fluff or anything like that. A little bit of thicker fur there, but I think this female has probably had a couple of litters before. She doesn't look that young. Another vehicle just joined us, and just the cracking of like a little stick or so just made the youngsters look around for a moment, but immediately falling back asleep again. That one youngster on the left hand side, he's actually scanning over the plains there as well. Shiloh, you are asking why cheetahs have spots. So if you look at the youngsters, it helps them, especially with that long fur, to camouflage them when mom hides them away. But even when mom is stalking, say, let's say an impala in this long grass on these open plains, then you can imagine those spots. They break the shape of the cheetah up a little bit, and it helps them camouflage so that this female can get as close as possible to an impala, for let's say an impala, and she'll be able to catch it. So it's all for camouflage. And Shiloh, if you have a look there behind her ears, you can see how nice and black behind the ears are. So lions also have black behind the ears like that, and that's used for communication. So whenever the ears are flat or whenever the ears are moving in a certain way, they can listen to each other, and also the other cheetahs can see where she's listening towards or so. See how that youngster's turning his head just into the sun. I think we're going to stick around. I don't think they're going to be moving anytime soon.
We thought we'd stop to give you a view. Sometimes you have to stop and appreciate your surroundings, and many of you will know marulas are my favorite tree. And this is a marula that we have in front of us right now. Of course, lost most of its leaves and waiting for summer to come back around. But when you're looking at your surroundings when it comes to trees, you can tell a lot about what is going on. So marulas favor well-drained sandy habitats, and they're normally found on the crest of the katina. Now, what does katina mean? It's basically used in soil science when you're referring to sort of the soil and the geology of an area. You'll use the word katina, and it's basically a series of distinct sort of array of soils. So when you're looking at the soils, they will have different descriptions, and that's what a katina refers to. And the marulas, the one that Biki's given you a beautiful view of, they prefer to grow on the crest of a katina, and they grow in abundance. So when you come to an area with lots of marulas, you can sort of get an indication of where you are. And in general, large leaf trees, not just marulas, they actually prefer this type of soil, really well drained sandy areas. And this is infertile. It's really infertile. It's not nutrient rich, and therefore they don't get many nutrients from it. Now, I'm trying to look for a bush willow for you, a combretum. I think there's just one through here, BK, at 9 o'clock. And generally, red bush willows are found on the upper slopes of the katina, but they're not really palatable trees, and therefore they are palatable, sorry. Bush willows are very, very palatable, and what that means is they're yummy and delicious. Unpalatable means they're obviously not yummy and delicious. So they're targeted by various different insects for food. And this is how you can see where you are by looking around what bush willows are there. Now, there's lots of other trees that we can go through. I've got a little diagram as well that we'll come back to in just a moment so that you can understand the soil types of Djuma.
We have got a lovely herd of elephants here. Same one, obviously. And I think what they're doing now is thinking about heading off towards the water. They stayed in one place for a while, had a bit of a dust bath, a feed. The kids started to play. A bit of argy-bargy. They're not making a beeline for the water though, but I think they're going to cut across country shortly. Go a little bit forward. May just go and sit down by the water and wait for them. Oh, no, we found something else to eat over here. Sorry, my dear. One of them got a little testy with us. The breaking of branches, the flapping of ears, and the gentle plop-plopping of dung hitting the ground. These are the sounds of an elephant sighting on a Sunday morning. Oh, there's the little baby. a very cute little bottom there. Now, what they're having a go at is a leadwood. And as they've moved slowly down towards the water, they have picked up an entourage of starlings. There have been a few drongos with them the whole time, but now you can hear a whole lot of starlings calling above. And they're waiting to pick up whatever little insects and things are kicked out of the grass. Yeah, they've now turned towards the water. Erica, elephants are very tolerant of strangers for the most part. So if there's an orphaned elephant, you can find a herd that will adopt that elephant, even if they aren't related to it. And so I suspect, therefore, that it's probably quite possible that you'd find herds of elephants where the cows are not related to each other. I think it'd be very unusual, but I would say it would be possible, especially when you are talking about elephants that are perhaps being reintroduced to the wild.
So we've managed to find this lioness, or these lionesses again. They walked right across quite a thick area. We could not drive through there. So what we did was we drove around, and there was another vehicle helping us, and they've managed to relocate these lions, and now we're sitting with them. As you can see, the excitement of the morning was just too much for them. They have settled down in this beautiful grass, and their tawny color is camouflaging them perfectly. In fact, I'm almost certain we would not have seen them if we were driving past here, lying in the shade in this grass like this. But luckily there was another vehicle helping us in the area. They are with us right now, so if you do hear any other voices, it's just that other vehicle. So you can see, look at that, there are all of the lionesses here. All 6 of them should be lying here in the grass. We can only see one. The others are in a big heap just beyond the grass there. We can hardly see them at all. But yes, we're not sure what they were up to the whole night, what they were doing. Were they moving around? Were they resting? There's one female that we saw that looked like she might actually be lactating. So there might even be the chance that there could be some cubs in the area. We know there was a lioness that had given birth to a whole bunch of cubs. I think maybe about 4 youngsters. We haven't seen sight or sound of them, but they could still be around this area. She might have brought them across into Pride Lands from where they were born just next door in Kwenga. Or we suspect anyway. But we're not sure. We haven't seen the youngsters. We just see that this one female looks like she's lactating. And they haven't left this area now for 2 days, so we're wondering if maybe on that rocky outcrop where we first found them settling down, maybe there's some youngsters hidden around there. But we're not sure. It's all speculation at this point. But awesome to see that they are resting and relaxing. Probably means they'll still be here late into the afternoon before they start another hunting expedition. I suspect that they're going to lie down here most of the day. It's nice and cool though. The wind is nice and cool, and there's a few impalas that we've seen around this area, so you never know, the opportunities might arise. Just shifting there to get comfortable. Look how their ears are being kept down at the moment. You can see the grass is moving, so the wind is probably bothering them in their ears, so they've just got their ears down to rest. Appleby, I suspect that there probably is. This lioness has heard something. She's looking around. I wonder what it is exactly that's got her attention. Isn't she beautiful? But Appleby, yes, in most prides of lions, there'll be one female which is generally older than the rest, or at least a couple of females that are older than the rest. There's not usually one specific matriarch always, like in elephants or hyenas, but there's probably a female that's older and wiser who sort of leads the group, perhaps a group of females that lead the group. We haven't yet established which is the dominant female in this particular pride. It's difficult to tell when they hide in such thick environments. We can't watch them easily, all of them together, and especially when they go hunting at night. It's not easy at all to follow them and see their interactions and see what they do. Look at this lioness, got her head up. She's sniffing the air. I wonder what it is. The wind hasn't shifted. It's been quite steady, but it has picked up slightly. Perhaps just bringing some scent on the wind. We heard alarm calling happening earlier, and I speculated that maybe there was a male lion that might be trailing them. But I'm not sure. There has been a male lion seen with this pride over the last few days. Not here on Pride Lands, but just before they came to Pride Lands when they were on Kwenga. We know that there's a few males in the area, the Masangulo males, who you've seen, and the Limpy male as well. We saw one male lion track yesterday, Gert and I, in the morning. We didn't find the lion, but that means he's also probably around somewhere. I can definitely feel the wind now. Definitely picking up a little bit, so it's bringing all sorts of scents. Remember, lions' sense of smell is far, far more sensitive than ours. They can smell things from a long distance away, much more intensity than us. I even saw one of these lionesses perhaps scent marking as they were walking earlier, just stopping by a marula tree, a big one, and shifted her tail to the side and bent down slightly. So we couldn't see what she did, but I think she was probably urinating and maybe scuffing just at the base of that tree. So they might also just be establishing their territory a bit more strongly here by leaving those scents, those olfactory cues. And the grass that they're lying in currently, it looks like some of that couch grass that we picked the other day, which I said smells very fragrant, which might actually be helping them in some way. Maybe it masks their scent a little bit so that they can remain undetected. I mean, their scent will be quite strong to any antelopes, but perhaps just enough of this turpentine and couch grass to disguise their scent ever so little. Look around here. It's actually quite a nice area. Where the lions are lying, there's a bit of shade, but just behind our vehicle, there is a little bit of open area, which is actually perfect for lions because it means they can lie in the shade, be hidden, be still, but still see animals walking past. And I mean, the road is not far, maybe just 10 meters behind us. Many animals will use roads and pathways to get from one place to the next. So if these lions do happen to spot something walking along a road, it would be the perfect opportunity with this nice steady wind to rush out and grab something. Even though it is daytime, it's not the ideal hunting situation, but opportunities are important. And if a good opportunity arises, they won't hesitate to jump on that. Try and take something down for breakfast. And this also gives us a great opportunity to keep an eye out for a green-winged petilia that Eric has challenged us to find. I don't know if it's been found yet. I haven't heard word from elsewhere, but we're certainly keeping our eyes and ears peeled.
I don't think we'll be finding any green-winged petilias in this wind today, especially not on Pinda. You've just come to us at the right time. She's just sit up and you can see she's actually looking in the distance there. I think something caught her eye earlier to the left-hand side, but I think she's just being a very good sentry mom and just keeping an eye out of what's going around her. Oh, there's a bit of a stretch. There we go. Oh, look at that. Yawn, downward dog. She's maybe just trying to reposition a bit. That youngster actually slid down the termite mound a little bit there. Yeah, just finding a different spot. And also now looking in the opposite direction of where she was. So probably just to make sure that she scans all over this area behind us, keeping an eye on all the animals that's in the distance, even though I can't see anything with my naked eyes, but I'm sure she can spot anything with those incredible eyes that she has, and those tear marks coming into play there, taking away the glare of the sun a little bit. She is facing away from the sun now, so probably not playing that much of a role. But look at that one youngster is now lying flat. The wind is blowing straight towards us, so she's now taking the wind away from these youngsters. You can see how that one is actually snuggling up. Oh, so cute. Chick, you're asking if cheetahs ever den their young. They actually do. So a den per se is not really what you would think, like a burrow or maybe a cave or anything like that. But this female, for example, she would have found a spot to have these cubs, like we were talking earlier about, maybe in a dry riverbed or somewhere where the vegetation is a little bit more dense, and she would have kept them there, and that is seen as a den site. And she would probably have moved the den site a couple of times in the first 3 months of these youngsters' lives, just because the scent of the youngsters and the cheetahs will be building up in that area, and she'll try and move them around so the scent doesn't build up too much, and then other predators or maybe big herbivores that might be a danger to these youngsters would find them. So they definitely do den. See how she's actually sitting upright completely. So when she got up just now, I don't know if you saw, but you could see she ate, but she wasn't very, very fat. So I think she's actually sitting upright like this, staring in the distance there, because if she gets the opportunity, she might take it to try and hunt, because she's got these two other hungry mouths as well. See how she's sitting upright and actually staring. Just from my angle, I can see that she has actually got her eyes open. So definitely looking around a lot more now. Look at that youngster that's lying right up against her. He's trying to keep his head up as well, because he's lying on the down slope. Super cute. Yeah, she's definitely staring there in the distance. So there's a watering hole right directly where she's looking now. Just on this other side of that hill, there is a watering hole. So I think she might head there later this day. Mojo, you are asking what happens to the youngsters when mom goes out and hunts. So they'll follow her for quite a bit, and then they'll look at her body language. So at this age, they definitely do not have anything to do with the hunt just yet. So they'll look at her body language, her ears, how she's behaving, and if they even see prey, they will just sit tight and they'll actually watch mom, and she'll try and hunt by herself. So she'll preferably leave them where it's nice and open and where they'll be safe. Doesn't really matter where it is, because they'll be following mom until they see that she goes into her hunting mode, and then once she catches something and she's killed it and made sure it's completely dead, then she will come back, or maybe even sit with the carcass and call the youngsters, and they'll be waiting for that call, and then they'll run quickly to her. But when they get a little bit older, let's say these two are about 6 months to a year old, so just saying again that once they get a little bit older, they might actually join in the hunt and start to learn a little bit. And often that's the most difficult time for this female, because then the youngsters, obviously being inexperienced, they might give the hunt up or do something wrong. Kruger, you are saying that it's so cute with the fluff blowing through, the wind blowing through the fluff on their necks. It is super cute. I just want to use this opportunity to say thanks to Marcel for his stint here at Pinder. It was a pleasure having him behind the camera. But for now, I think I'm just going to stick around and see if she maybe gets up or not.
There's another one. There is a fish eagle, and it is shining very brightly as it faces the sun, warming itself. And there are two fish eagles in this tree, believe it or not. I've just spotted the second one, about 2/3 of the way down. Can you see it there, Theo? The partner. Now, I don't know if these two, well, they have, because there's a juvenile flying around, so I think these two have managed to successfully raise at least one chick while we've been around. But I don't know where or if they have a permanent nesting site. They're mostly in this tree, and then in some of the other dead trees around the place. And a fish eagle's nest is much as you'd expect an eagle's nest to be. It's an uncomfortable looking pile of sticks. Just quickly check exactly what kinds of trees they nest in. Naturally, I can't find the fish eagle on my little app. Back. Ooh. What's going on there? Did it attack something? Right, so the fish eagle, large tree close to water, well, they've got that. Maybe there is a nest in this tree. I mean, we've certainly seen them in here often enough. I'm just trying to see if it's more likely to be in a dead tree or in a living one. New nests take up to 2 months to build. 3 or 4 sites are inspected before construction begins. That's mostly by the male, apparently. Lined with grass and papyrus heads and other aquatic plants, and occasionally weavers' nests. That's quite cool, because mostly eagles' nests really aren't like that. They're very uncomfortable looking piles of sticks, as I said, often thorny, and you'd imagine as a naked bird being born into something like that would be very unpleasant. Or certainly, even if you're covered in down, still very unpleasant. The fish eagle has it a bit easier. More of a silver spoon for them. Yes, and sometimes they will do it on a dead or drowned tree. My eagles and vultures are not necessarily enemies, no. They're actually quite separated in what they like to eat, and so they don't have or experience a whole lot of competition. Eagles are generally not scavengers, vultures are generally scavengers, and so you won't ever find eagles or a great number of eagles at a big buffalo carcass, but you'll find lots and lots of vultures. Yes, fish eagles certainly, and a couple of other eagle species will scavenge from time to time, but they do largely their own killing, whereas vultures do largely scavenging. And so there isn't really a reason for vultures and eagles to detest each other and fight. And in fact, sometimes you'll find vultures and eagles sitting in the same tree. Boo in AZ. Is that right? Hello, Boo in AZ, wherever that is. I'm not sure of a place called AZ, but there it is. He does look very majestic up there, but he does look a little bit like he's going to get seasick. So the top of that tree is wobbling about quite a lot. I was hoping the elephants were going to arrive at the water, but they're still precisely where they were before. They haven't moved. Decided it's a bit too much trouble to come down to drink just yet. So hopefully they'll come down. We'll give them another 10 minutes or so.
I found a leopard. It might not be exactly what I was looking for, but it's still a leopard orchid. Ancelia africana, a Latin name I'll never forget. It's very beautiful. And it's the largest of all orchid plant species here in South Africa. And what's so fascinating about this plant is it's epiphytic. So it's an epiphyte. And what that means is that it needs the tree. It can utilize different trees out here, but it needs a tree in order to grow. But it's not parasitic. It's not sitting there taking any nutrients from this knobthorn. It's not taking anything from it other than a position to grow. And that's what it means by epiphyte. So the roots are actually anchored on the branch. And they're normally positioned in such a way on the tree itself that it receives full sunlight. It needs the tree for support, and it needs the tree for access to sunlight, but not food. It's not taking anything away from the tree that the tree would require for its own photosynthesis process. It has its own way of photosynthesizing. And we call this aerial roots because the roots, when you say the word roots, you normally think about roots growing into the ground, but this is not happening here. So this leopard orchid actually has aerial roots, believe it or not. And this one is not flowering, which is a shame, but I'm sure the one at Tswalu is, because it has bright yellow flowers with brown spots, and that's where the name leopard orchid comes from. They're really fragrant as well. I've never actually had the chance to smell one, but from what I read, they smell wonderful. They have the most delicious fragrant flowers. And hawk moths, so we don't see many hawk moths around right now because we're in the heart of winter. They actually feed on the flowers, and they do it at night. Most moths, but not all, are nocturnal, and therefore the hawk moths do most of their feeding at night. They're also pollinators of various different flowers out here, and they will come along to snack on the flowers. It's a really, really wonderful plant. And being an epiphyte, it's a great sort of evolution in plants. It survives and thrives by using another tree, but not actually harming the other tree. The vervet monkeys also love the leopard orchids. They eat the seeds, and they also eat the canes, the sweet canes. And they disperse the seeds in the process. So they eat them, and then the seeds come out the other end of the monkeys, and this helps to disperse them. A natural way of dispersal for the plant through animals. And it's actually thought, the theory is that the plant itself gets there. How on earth does it get on top of a tree? It gets there from the vervet monkeys. So when the vervet monkeys eat the seeds, climb trees, and then do a wonderful pile of poo in the tree, that's how the plant actually established itself there in the first place, which is really fascinating. It's a beautiful plant. If I see any ones that are flowering, we will try to show you, but sadly this one is not. I don't know if there's a bit of a delay here, but consultant detective, I literally just mentioned that it gets there from the monkeys. So the monkeys eat the seeds that are dispersed, so it goes into their tummy, but they're not digested. So they will come out in the fecal pellets of the monkey, normally when they do this up the tree. That's the theory, that that's how it got there. And then it begins to grow, utilizing the fat branches for stability and, well, a place to spread your aerial roots, and then it needs sunlight. So if the tree was to grow in such a manner that it blocks the leopard orchid sunlight, it wouldn't be able to survive. So it needs to be in the right position on the tree in order to survive and thrive. I hope that answered your question, consultant detective. We have many around, but they're not all flowering. I'm sure the one at Chitwa is. Beautiful burst of sunshine yellow. So it wasn't quite the leopard that I was hoping for, but still, since we're looking at the vegetation today, it's still a leopard in its own right. Orchids happen to be my absolute favourite flowers. I love them. I think there's about 18,000 species, or they're about approximately 18,000 species of orchids worldwide. And the leopard orchid is the largest out here. So I'm now going to continue my search for an actual leopard. It can be in a tree, but it won't have aerial roots. It will have 4 legs. So hopefully I get lucky.
We've repositioned it a little bit just to see if we can get a view of the youngsters' faces here. And it was actually pretty funny earlier. The female fell asleep and she almost rolled down the termite mound there. But the wind is actually warming up a little bit. I can feel the temperature outside is much better now, and I think that's going to make them want to fall asleep even more. Can imagine this warm winter sun on them now, starting to make them nice and lazy. Oh, look at that youngster. You can see his head is just wants to like almost go down and fall asleep even better. See how she's still listening towards us, and the other ear on the other side also listening around. See how they're flicking their ears every now and then. I think they've maybe got some ticks or maybe some small insects that's maybe biting them there. Trying to chase them off. Might even be that the wind is just like irritating their ears a bit, and then they just flick it off and try and get rid of that irritation. How cute is this youngster? Almost lying with his chin on his shoulder there. As Kathy, you're asking how long cheetahs sleep every day. I don't know if you just saw it. She's actually had a bit of a fright there. So they can sleep for quite a while. I wouldn't say they sleep as much as lions do. So this female, you can imagine she has to be aware of everything that goes on around her. So if they have full bellies, they'll sleep on and off probably the whole day if they didn't have to hunt or anything like that. But as you can see, she's falling asleep for about 5 to 10 minutes every now and then she looks around. But these youngsters have been down the whole time, so they can sleep for pretty much the whole day if their bellies are full. And they're a little bit more awake at night. They are not seen as nocturnal because they're not active, but they have to be aware of what's going on around them. So they'll probably find an open spot like this. And it's not totally impossible for this female to actually just stay right in the spot or in this area for the whole day. But these youngsters, she actually moved quite a distance. So there was a herd of buffalo that chased her off of the spot where she was lying down this morning. And they moved quite a distance, and thinking about how far they've moved in the last couple of days. I think these youngsters are nice and tired, and that's why she's maybe also settling down, letting them sleep for quite a while. So just to answer your question directly, like I don't think there's a fixed amount of hours they sleep. Really depends on what their situation is like. I can just see the movement of her head, how she's also dozing off. So she is looking around every now and then. It must be so stressful with this wind blowing around her the whole time. It'll definitely dampen her hearing and smell as well. That youngster is so cute. Oh my goodness. And this termite mound doesn't look like it's been used by termites in recent times. A lot of grass and stuff almost growing on top of it, and there's little flowers growing on top of it as well. Oh, she just heard something. So she's very wary, like every now and then she hears something or so. The other youngster's just popping his head over the termite mound there, and then she turns around and just has a look quickly. Enjoying this warm sun. Even us, we turned the vehicle a little bit sideways and the sun is shining straight onto us. It's so nice and comfy here. Look at that youngster stretching there. Just saw the little toes open as well. Opening his toes and stretching his feet. The wind is actually starting to swirl quite a bit. It's not blowing in one direction. I think that's maybe why she's turning around and looking around every now and then. She might be getting different scents now with the wind swirling around like this. So she's lying with her paw even facing upright a little bit, or turned around, and that's always a sign when big cats lie down, especially this female cheetah with the paws facing up. She's relaxed and settling down. It's quite comfortable for them to lie like that. Even see this youngster, his one paw is also turned a little bit. Interesting that this youngster already has that iconic cheetah pose while falling asleep, even from a young age, falling asleep the same way that mom is with it set up. You can see how light in color that long fur behind this youngster's head is compared to the mom's fur, and very similar color to the grass, and the mom's obviously a little bit darker. I can just assure you that the long fur on the youngsters' backs and even on the side of their bellies there must be so welcome, keeping them nice and warm in this wind. There she's looking around again. Oh, there she's looking this way. Look at those beautiful eyes. Oh, this female is so beautiful. Every time she looks this way, just look at her face. She has absolutely no blemishes, so no scratches or anything like that. Not often you see big cats. Often a bit of fighting, maybe when mating or so. They get a few scratches or so. Rini, you are asking which animals would attack cheetahs? So cheetahs are the smaller of and the lighter of the big cats of Africa, and they really have to be careful. For quite a variety of animals, they have it quite difficult. Obviously they have to be careful of other predators, especially leopard, lion, and even hyenas. I don't think hyenas would particularly attack cheetahs, but lions and leopards would definitely... Oh, she just had a bit of a fright there. Lions and leopards will actively, if they see them or smell them, try and kill cheetah, and that's just purely because they are in competition for food, and they're just another predator. But another animal that a lot of people don't really think about is zebra. So cheetah are known to hunt young zebra foals, but adult zebras, if they feel threatened by cheetah, they can actually chase them off and try and get rid of them or chase them out of the area. But cheetah have to be very careful of a lot of animals. I mean, even buffalo, we know the buffalo chased them off earlier just to make sure they get out of the area. Because even though cheetah won't particularly hunt buffalo, oh, look at those little toes. Oh my goodness. Sorry, just to get back to that. They won't really hunt buffalo. They still smell like a predator, and they'll get chased off or so by those animals. Oh, when they stretch their little paws, these youngsters, they are super cute. She keeps on looking back up the hill here, and I wonder if she can maybe hear something every now and then. Anna Marie, you're asking what are the chances of the cheetah cubs actually surviving? So at this point it's still very good. Cheetah mortalities are actually quite high when they're very young, but when these two grow up a little bit and they leave their mother, they'll stick together for about a month or so to ensure a little bit of better survival. But that period when these two youngsters will leave their mother and be by themselves and then eventually leave each other, if it's not two young males, then that is probably their most dangerous time, because they're inexperienced, they're not with their mother, and they might venture into areas that's a little bit more dangerous or not know about some dangers. You can see these youngsters are starting to roll around a little bit, but still a little bit sleepy. I'm going to stick around and hopefully they start playing or waking up soon.
Now the elephants have really not played ball with us. We've been sat at the water waiting and watching them coming slowly down towards it, and then they'd stop and eat, and then two youngsters would have a fight and two adults would chase each other, and then they'd come a little bit closer, and now it seems that they're going to bypass the dam altogether. So we've come up onto the dam wall. We're now watching them feeding just off to the western side of the dam wall. I suppose they could turn 90 degrees and come towards the water, but they are showing no great interest or enthusiasm or urgency for quenching whatever thirst it is that they might have. Just a great deal of feeding, not much else. Yvette, a group of elephants is just called a herd, and in fact if you look at a lot of textbook type books, you'll only ever find the word herd used to describe a group of herbivores. You won't find journeys of giraffes or dazzles of zebras or whatever else they tend to call things collectively, parliaments of owls and murders of crows and that sort of thing. So you'll find all birds will be known as a flock, and those fun words that we use for collective nouns are just sort of English quirks, if you like, or English oddities, but they're not used biologically. Now, I've been gently and ever so friendlily scolded by Shamsun, who has found an article indicating that there is quite a lot of science behind the blue tongues of a giraffe. So my apologies for that. I haven't read the article just yet, but it is there. She says she's going to try and find some more too, which would be great. And so the elephants are not going to come down for a drink. They have disappeared. And so we too shall disappear from this waterhole where nothing is drinking and head around and back towards Juma, I suspect, and see what we can find that in. I've no doubt that they will eventually end up here, but probably after we're at home drinking coffee and enjoying breakfast. Malcolm, yes, indeed, elephants do get bigger almost until the day that they die. They just keep growing, which is quite nice for them. I wish I was going to keep growing, but alas, I am not. This is a very enthusiastic knobthorn tree, way too enthusiastic. It's already going out of flower and into leaf, which seems to be slightly wasted, really, given that there are very few other knobthorn trees in flower, and so the chances of its gametes meeting the gametes of another knobthorn are very small. What an idiot.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Oh my goodness, you guys just joined us at the right time. This youngster was sitting upright and has now come and joined Mom there, and they seem... Oh, there she's grooming him. Yeah. Oh, there we go. A big grooming session coming here. Look at this other youngster also stretching. Oh, what a nice moment between the mom and the youngsters. And as I said earlier, they were starting to move around a lot more, so I think they are actually getting a little bit more energetic now. You can imagine these youngsters probably have quite a lot of energy after a nice rest like this. I see mom's snuggling up to the cub there. So cute. And now that they're so close together, you can actually see the size difference between mom and the youngsters quite nicely. So this youngster has been up for quite a few minutes now and hasn't lied down again to go back asleep. But the other one is still very, very flat. And it's actually the one with the little nick on his face. I think we'll dub him Little Scarface for now. Other youngsters also up. They really do look grumpy. It must be this this wind that's blowing. These two youngsters. Oh, there's a bit of a yawn by the one on the right hand side there. These youngsters are slowly waking up, even though they are lying down every now and then. Still, they've been sleeping for quite a while. If you think of how long we've been with them now. See that white fluff behind his head blowing in the wind. Oh, this wind is picking up again. See how all three of them looking into the window. Oh, look at that. Mom looking straight towards us over the youngster's head. Youngster on the termite mound is stretched out over that termite mound. Kathy, you were asking how many cheetah cubs can this female still have? So if you think of how long the gestation of the female is around about 3 months, and she will probably go into estrus again after about a year and a half to 2 years after the youngsters are born. And thinking of cheetahs getting to about 16 years of age, maybe even a little bit older than that. So if she can have 2 cubs or 3 cubs every 2 years or so, yeah, so she can probably have about 8 sets of cubs throughout her lifetime. Or, you know, it's not a fixed number, but it could be up to that. And litter size obviously makes a difference as well. So she started out with 3, and unfortunately we haven't seen the 3rd cub for quite a while. So she probably lost that one youngster. And I mean, mortality in cheetah youngsters are quite high, up to 70% in the wild. So very common for them to lose youngsters. But she can possibly even have litters up to 6 cubs. There's actually a female cheetah on Pinda in the far north of the reserve, in an area where the signal is not great, so we can't really film around that area, but we're hoping that she does come down to where we are so we can film her. But there is a female at the moment with 6 cubs. How incredible is that? So yeah, it depends on how many cubs she has per litter as well. She can keep on having cubs for quite a while. I think she looks still fairly young, so I think she's probably about midway through her life now, or even a little bit younger than that. Maybe she's about 5 or 6 years old. So she can still have quite a few litters. Look at that youngster is falling asleep right next to Mum, almost underneath her chin there. Now I think we're gonna still stick around. Hopefully these youngsters become even more active. They're a lot more active than what they were earlier.
A flowering knobthorn, one of the most magnificent scenes around right now. Stunning. Knobthorns are another one of my favourite trees, called the trees of life, and of course covered in knobs, small knobs that are actually thorn tipped, which is a defense mechanism against herbivores that are after the delicious leaves and flowers. This is why we have so many giraffes around at the moment, because the flowers of a knobthorn, I'm going to try and find one for you this afternoon, but sadly I'm not like Brave Dave and I can't get to the top of this tree to get one for you, but we have some in camp. And these flowers are actually a firm favourite of the giraffes. They love them, and that's why we have so many giraffes around right now. So the knobthorn flowers actually comprise 40% of a giraffe's diet. That's a lot in this particular season, when it's flowering, of course. That's almost half. And the giraffes are actually said to be the mammal pollinator, one of the few mammal pollinators that we have. Normally it's insects, bees, and birds and bats that are known to be pollinators. And giraffes are said to be the main mammal pollinator of the knobthorn, which is really sort of, well, it's a very interesting way of pollinating, because the giraffes are not meaning it. What's happened is they will feed on the flowers, and their head and sometimes their neck will actually get covered in pollen. So as they move on to the next tree, they're transferring this pollen. They're eating all the flowers, but they're transferring the pollen. And you would think, how do knobthorns survive this? There's so many giraffes around, they're hungry, they're constantly feeding. How do they survive this? Well, one sort of mechanism of the knobthorn is they don't always produce sterile flowers. So not all flowers that you see will be fertile, some will be sterile. And what that means is it's diluting, the tree itself is diluting the amount of reproductive flowers that a giraffe can eat. So they'll still come along, the giraffe won't know, and eat the flowers, but it just means that it's not eating all the reproductive ones, it will also be eating some sterile ones. so at least the tree can retain some of their flowers. And giraffes are said to cover about 16 kilometers per day, just going from knob thorn to knob thorn to knob thorn, and that's exactly why they're so efficient at transferring the pollen. It's said to be 45% of the knobthorn pollination is done by giraffes themselves. The knobthorn is a tree of life. It really is utilized by many organisms out here, from insects all the way up to giraffes and elephants. And I was talking about soil earlier, so they generally tend to grow on fertile alluvial soils. And that's why the leaves of the knobthorn are particularly nutritious. And although there's no leaves at this very moment in time, the leaves are favoured by elephants and giraffes and also kudu. Such a pretty flower. I'll try and get some for this afternoon so we can take a real closer look, and I also want to smell them. Okay, so we're going to do one last bumble towards quarantine and see what I can find over there.
So these youngsters, instead of actually getting up and starting to play a bit that I was hoping for, they've both moved to where Mum was, and they have now snuggled up next to each other and are falling asleep again. I guess it is just like any other young and small animals. They do rest quite a bit, and I think with this cold wind and windy weather, they are not too interested in doing anything else than trying to keep themselves as warm as possible. They almost blend into each other there. Just falling asleep completely. Mom has basically now been shoved away from a little spot there, all the way around to where she was when we started our segment here with these cheetahs. They're trying to make themselves as small as possible. The little bird that just flew by, must be quite windy for that bird to be able to fly around in this wind. So our Mom's now looking back up onto the hill. So there is that herd of buffalo just on the other side of the hill, and we did get an update that the buffalo herd slowly coming in this direction. Let's hope they don't come and disturb these cheetahs here. She's got a perfect little spot. There she's actually looking over the youngsters now, back down the hill. So Vesh, you're asking if cheetahs are harmful to humans, like other big cats. Not really. So we've been talking a little bit about how they have to be careful of other predators and other animals and so on. So cheetahs have more of a flight than fight way of life. So if they should see people on foot and it's quite far away, they'll try and slink away without really being seen. If you get close to them, especially this female with her youngsters, she might growl and maybe hiss a little bit or so, but they do not pose any threat to people. I don't think there's been any reported cases of a cheetah ever killing a person. There's been like a few attacks, but it's usually tamed cheetahs or people that have attempted to tame cheetahs wild cheetahs will always try and get away from people, so they don't pose any threat to us. Way more skittish, they are quite prone to injury, and that's why they will try and avoid getting into a tussle with anything. They'll try and avoid getting close to humans or anything like that. In some cases, even if this female cheetah, where she is now, she can scan over these open areas. If she should see someone walking in the distance, she might actually just keep an eye on them and not even move, trying to not get any attention to her also. You can see there, these youngsters are it's almost like they are slipping slowly down the termite mound. They're closer and closer to the bottom. You might see if one of them gets a bit uncomfortable, try and move back up onto the little termite mound. So we actually have, just to get back to that, for the threat to humans, we have a few anti-poaching guys and so on that walk around the reserve and patrol all the time, and they often let us know if they've seen cheetah or where they've seen some animals and help us to find them and so on. And as far as I know, they always say that the cheetahs are quite placid. They just keep an eye on them, and if they get close, they'll run off or so, but otherwise they don't do anything. There, she's just turning her head. You can see her, like, she's falling asleep, but keep being very wary of what's going on around her. See how she's scanning down the hillside there. I actually wish that the wind wasn't blowing so much, and we might actually hear them purr. Butterfly, you're asking if cheetahs hunt at night. So the books will tell you that cheetahs do not hunt at all. And I was just talking to Craig now, that's behind the camera. So he was filming for Wild Earth in the Masai Mara quite a while ago. And there the cheetahs do not hunt at night at all. They try and avoid being active at night just because of the activity of other predators in the area. But on Phinda, we've actually witnessed, and not witnessed the hunt itself, but witnessed that some of the male cheetahs that are in coalitions where there's more than one of them actually hunting at night and not worrying too much about it, because there's certain areas where the predators are not that prominent. So it's difficult to say if they do hunt exclusively during the day, because I think it depends on different areas and the movement of other predators and so on, if that makes sense. But this female with her youngsters, I don't think she would that she would risk hunting during the evenings, just because she would want as little possible attention to her and her cubs, especially at night when it's a little bit more difficult for her to see around her. But a very good question. A lot of people don't know this, but some cheetahs actually do hunt at night. Kruger, you're saying your heart melts with these cheetah cubs. They are so cute, and I think cheetahs are my absolute favorite, and we're so privileged on Phinda to see them quite often, having such a strong population here, and especially having so many cubs at the moment. It is such a pleasure seeing them. There's actually, this year, during this lockdown that we are in and all the quarantine that's going on, there's been so many cheetah cubs on Phinda. We were talking about the one female that has 6 youngsters at the moment, and there's at least 2 other females apart from this one that actually has 2 other cubs, 2 cubs each as well. Oh, this wind is actually turning quite a bit, and it's blowing straight onto us now. Getting stronger and stronger. August is always such a windy month. Well, you're asking at what age these youngsters will run alongside I don't know if you said alongside their mom or so, but like to answer your question, I think so these youngsters, they'll be fully grown when they are around 2 to 2.5 years old. So, sorry, you were asking how at what age these youngsters will run the same speed as their mum. So when they're about fully grown, I think probably only when they're about 2.5 years old, that's the time that their muscles will be developed almost to be fully grown. So it's quite a while. And on Pinda, it's very seldom that that cheetahs actually do reach their top speed, because there's a lot of thicker areas and so on that they can use to actually hunt. But yes, like I said, it will probably only be when they are fully grown, so when they're about 2 years old or 3 years old, around there. See how this female's now bobbing her head around even more. I think the wind is gusting. You can see she's just yawned a little bit as well. She's been in the spot for quite a while. It might happen that she tries and finds a spot to maybe lie down on a different termite mound or so, but if she's happy with the spot here, there is the buffalo moving a little bit closer. Oh, the youngster just picked his head up there as well. Not looking impressed with this wind. She's actually starting to pant a little bit. You can see her mouth is opened while she's staring in the distance there. That just means that her body temperature is now a little bit higher than what it was earlier, and she's just trying to cool herself down by panting. And the fact that it's heating up quite a bit, if this wind dies down and it's only the sun on them, then she might try to look for a spot in the shade. But I think for now, the sun is a warm welcome to this cold wind. There she's actually starting to groom herself. So remember what I said earlier about cheetahs maybe starting to move around a little bit, or big cats starting to move around a bit, or stretching when they start grooming or yawning. I think we're going to stick around and see if that happens.
Oh dear. As this starling heard that you were coming to have a look at him, he absconded. Oh, beautiful shot there, Theo. Let's see if we can get a bit closer, shall we? He was sat so beautifully close, and then he went. All right, there we go. On the ground now. Virtual starling, epic sighting. We've just come to Treehouse Waterhole, which is, as usual, for me anyway, underperforming. The only organism in attendance is this virtual starling and a southern black tit calling behind me. Bzz, 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 bzz. Bzz, bzz, bzz. World class. All right, let's carry on. I was hoping there might be a few more elephants here. None as yet. See, there's now a highway where there used to not be a road. Okay, interesting. There's some small birds. I think they were sparrows. They too have... Ooh. In this bush here, we have got a green-winged Pytilia. Now, down, left, and zoom as fast as you can. Down, and right. There, you had him. They always do that. They wait until you've got the camera on them, then they go, that's not him, but that's a blue waxbill. The Pytilia is around. You would have seen him just fly off as Theo found him. There was nothing slow about what Theo did there. These birds are just notorious for being impossible to get on camera. They'll be in this little group here. Oh, apparently Ngala and Pinda were having a Pytilia competition. Well, sucks to be you this morning. Theo has won that one for us. So I can see all the little blue waxbills in this bush, but I can't see a Pytilia at the moment, but we did definitely get a view of it. Ha! Very cool.
The most chill steenbok in the world. There's a monogamous pair on quarantine that are just so relaxed. I actually run around quarantine every day as part of my exercise routine. BK does not, by the way. And they don't run. When I run past them, they don't move. They are completely habituated. I don't know how they got to be this habituated, but on my way home last night after sunset drive, of course the drive had wrapped, and we came across the female steenbok of the monogamous pair, suckling its young. There's a tiny steenbok somewhere on quarantine. I'm going to try and find it for you. Normally the male and female, when it comes to steenbok, they share a territory, and they like to stay in sort of visual contact with one another, so they don't need to be side by side. They don't like each other that much, but they will always be aware of where their partner is in the pairing. So I don't think the female will be too far away, and I would really love to show you the youngster. If you think a steenbok is cute, wait till you see a baby steenbok. Now the territories can actually be as small as 900 meters squared. Bless me, I just sneezed. Excuse me again. So it's a very, very small territory, but it's a territory nonetheless. And it means that that area will have some really high quality food for the pairing, and they will mark their territories. And it's a safer sort of zone to be in an open clearing like quarantine. They can see what's coming, they can hear what's coming, and it's a small area to maintain. They're monogamous. Pairing for life means they've always got each other, but if they continually move throughout their territory together, they become more visible. Two steenbok are easier to see than one. So when you get to sort of any size below impala, like a duiker, like a steenbok, it's far more beneficial to be on your own. So they forage and rest, actually. They rest away from one another. They eat away from one another. But they do mate. They mate for life, and they do defend the territory. They need to live a life where they're not seen. They actually have a toilet etiquette, which is part of their territorial displays, where they dig a little hole and, well, they either urinate or defecate in the hole, and they'll cover it. So they'll completely cover it, which is not common for animals out here. And this helps in scent marking their territory. So although it's buried, normally the moisture in the ground can help retain that scent for longer. So it means, one, they have to mark their territory less, and two, they can easily find one another in the territory. They're a very small... Oh, there we go. Right on cue. Thank you, Mr. Steenbok. And also, hiding your, well, at least your pellets, is going to mean that it's not as easy for predators to spot it. So that's all the reasons that they have a oh, there you go, covering it, see, it's covering his urine, perfect. That's the toilet etiquette of a Steenbok. So I'm going to quickly see if I can clap eyes on the female.
So this female cheetah has actually repositioned itself right on top of the timber mound there, but you can see they're all falling asleep. It seems like it's a very lazy morning, but she's stretched a little bit and now she's sitting upright again and just scanning around. I think with it warming up a little bit and maybe some of the animals, other animals may be going down or looking for something to drink or so. She's just trying to raise herself up to have a better look. But they'll be repositioning themselves every now and then to try and not lie on one spot. Look how she's falling asleep. So precious. And the one youngster there at the bottom, he's turned his head almost upside down, like just spread out over that whole termite mound. Can see how she's now staring there in the distance. Andrea, you are so welcome. It was such a pleasure to be driving around this morning, even though it was a little bit windy. It's so nice to be out and about. See how she's falling asleep. It seems like this is going to be such a nice and pleasant day for them here on this termite mound. Like, I think it's warming up quite nicely. I think these youngsters are in the best capable hands. This female's gonna keep them safe for the rest of the day. So she's actually looking straight towards us but falling asleep. She is so beautiful. But I think we are going to be hanging around for a little bit. Hopefully they start moving around. But yeah, thank you for joining us today. This has been such a nice morning, and we'll be out and about this afternoon again.